Thanks very much for that introduction on the metaverse, Bailey. I'd like to ground what Bailey was talking about in one very way. I'm going to be talking about this 37 years listening and learning, which really is my life experience of being an executive coach and trainer. I've just spent a lifetime listening to people, taking down notes, formulating things. So I'm going to come to that. But the first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to divide the room. I have what I call cycles of life. You have childhood from 0 to the age of 14. Then you move into young adulthood from 14 to 28. Then you go into a maturing phase up to 42. Then you go into a mastering phase, which is up to 56. And you go into a teacher phase, which is probably where Henry and I are, up to the age of 70. But I'd like to divide the room. Now, we've got no 14-year-olds, I don't think, but we did definitely have some people that are in that 0 to 28 age group. I can imagine you're there. You're there. Yeah. I'd like you to go down where Rob is, right to that end of the room. Any other youngsters in the room? Just bear with the madness for me, if you will, Bailey. So Bailey, it's quite appropriate that Bailey is talking about the metaverse. That definitely did my head in, but you know, he's the youngest in the room. So it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? He's in those first stages of life, yeah? Childhood, young adulthood. The next group is 29 to 42. I'd like you all to come up and line yourself up with these two tables here. So any 29-year-olds to 42-year-olds, just be here. That's the third stage of life. The fourth stage of life is 43 to 56. I'd like you to line up along here, please. Now, Henry, you join me up here. Are you over 56? You're older than me? You're joking. So if you're 57 to 70, come up here. Have we got anybody over 70? I don't think so. I think we're all in that last. So just bear in mind, childhood and young adulthood. Then we go into what I call the maturing phase. Then we go into the mastery phase, and then we come into the teacher phase. So you can see that within international leaders, we've got a pretty good dynamic going on, haven't we? The young dudes that can teach us all about the metaverse. And the ones down this end of the room that will never, ever in a million years get a neural implant, right? Well, maybe, I don't know. We did look at Star Trek and the Borg at one point in our lives, so it is possible. But what I found is on that journey, 37 years will take me back to where Bailey is. So have I had some lessons in life in going through those different phases? And that's what I'm just going to share some of them with you today. So thanks but I think I've got a clearer idea. Now, what happens is if you are looking for somebody that you want to, you're looking for a mentor or a teacher, just go one phase more. So Bailey, you're probably going to learn more from the next group up. This group might learn from us. The next group might, so in other words, just be one layer away and look for your mentors and your.
Once you're in this group, you learn.
and then we have the cycle, and then, well, we just become dribbling wrecks and we go back there, don't we? So thank you very much for bearing with me on that bit. So I've set up there that one of the advantages of being at the older end of the spectrum is that we've learned a lot, haven't we? What I've done is I've just assiduously over the years jotted it down. I'm just an inveterate note taker. I just can't, it's just part of my DNA. I have to make notes on things. And then what I did in January is I actually thought about how much of this stuff have I got? And I realized I had 1,971 quotes. And I thought, well, there's got to be some lessons in that. The first thing I did back in January was I put all the quotes that I'd actually coined, like if we always think the way we've always thought, we'll always be what we've always been. And I threw it out there into the metaverse on LinkedIn. That's about as close as I get to the metaverse. I put it out on LinkedIn and geez, it just kind of went off. I mean, over 1,000, 2,000 views of that. I thought, oh, that's interesting. So that was just the quotes. Then I thought, well, what have I learned? And I came up with some tips on dealing with stress, and I put that out there. And then I really got truck in, and I sat down. One day I got a piece of paper and went, how many lessons have I actually really learned? And I actually came up with 23 of them. And I'm not going to share them all with you. Now, if anybody would like the 23 lessons, it won't be the slides today. I've got this all formatted, and I can certainly send it to you. Just let Rob know or Ray know and pass your details on, and I can email it to you afterwards. Is that fair enough? Is that a fair takeaway? So, in no particular, well, actually, there is a bit of an order to it. I was going to put up 23 numbers and say pick a number and we'd shoot, but it became too complicated with the technology. I probably needed Bailey to help me out with that. But there's the full menu, all the contents that you'll get. If you ask for the document, you'll get this as a contents page. But the first lesson I learned was keep active. And I'll tell you why. It was 1987. And I used to, well, I don't run as much anymore, kind of trot along, but I do an awful lot of walking. And I used to get into races, and I went to Philadelphia to run the distance run. It's a very famous half marathon. And I stuck around because I was used to getting age awards. You know, I was a veteran, and you know, I'd go out there and do a trot in St. Louis or Austin, Texas, and I would always get an award. I always get a trophy, and I thought, well, maybe I'm going to get one here because it was a big event. So I stuck around for the awards ceremony, and they started reading out the awards, and they said in the 60 to 70 age group, and he's 64 today. In first place is Norm Green in a time of 1 hour and 8 minutes. This is for a half marathon. He was 64 years old. I just went, oh my God, I just turned down and walked away. Because he was twice, I was 32. And he was 64. And he ran this half marathon 10 minutes faster than me. And I said to myself, of course, and on the flight back to St. Louis, I just going, age does not matter. So that was the first lesson for me. Successful people do the things that failures don't like to do. They just keep on going with it, and they do not let age get in the way. There was a guy, 64, still doing it, still strutting his stuff, still winning races. I just thought that was amazing. So straight away, that for me was lesson number one. Age is immaterial if you make up your mind and you persist in it. Is that a fair enough lesson? So I've always said to people, keep active, keep moving, keep doing. Don't sit and get all glum. And anyway, well, let's not go there. So that was lesson number one. The bottom one came from an essay, an Albert Gray essay. The things successful people do, the things that failures don't like to do, in an essay called The Common Denominator of Success. I emigrated to the States. My first job was selling vacuum cleaners door to door. Couldn't get a job as an engineer straight away. And I knocked on this door in North Dakota in the middle of the winter. And this geezer, he let me in. I kind of charmed my way in and started doing my demo. At the end of it, he turned around and he said, "You've got quite an attitude, haven't you?" And I said, "Well, thank you very much." He said, "I'm not going to buy it for you, off you." I went, "Oh, okay." He said, "Here, take this essay." And it was this little pamphlet. And in there was this line, successful people do the things that failures don't like to do. And that's just always stuck with me after all these years. And this was probably about 35 years ago. So enough on that one. Second lesson I learned very quickly in life was know your purpose. When I saw this Far Side cartoon, I just roared with laughter. Edgar finally finds his purpose down the back of the sofa. It doesn't quite often come like that, does it? Has anybody got or is in touch with their own purpose in life? And by show of hands. Hey, good. And everybody else is looking at me and going, God, Neil's been smoking his socks again, hasn't he? A purpose in life is what gets you out of bed in the morning. It gives you the why you're doing it. If we just go through the routine day after day after day with no sense of purpose, how exciting and energizing is that? There is actually a very simple process. And when I'm coaching people in companies, I actually take them on a purpose exercise. And it can be quite an eye-opener, quite enlightening for people to turn around, I get it. Now, for me, my purpose is to create. Quite often, your purpose comes from what frustrates you. I joined an organization 20 years ago, and the moment I set foot, I turned around and I said, well, how am I going to contribute? How am I actually going to be, how can I add value to this? And it ended up that I couldn't, because every time I tried to make and put forward something, the main person that was running it, it was heretical for me to turn around and say, tinker with his intellectual property. Just did not like it at all. He called me playing around with his own, I was playing with his toys and he didn't like it. So your purpose comes from what frustrates you. I wasn't able to create. I wasn't able to contribute. And straight away I said, no, I've got to be able to create. And so what's happened is, because that's my purpose, I left that organization and I created Perfect Teams, which has brought me to this place in time. And some of you have seen this journey unfold. Rob's been there from the beginning. Colin, where's Colin? Colin's been there from the beginning. You've kind of seen this thing unfold, haven't you? As I followed this purpose. The purpose gets you out of bed in the morning. I say to people, no why, no way. If you don't tell me why it's important, I won't get off my backside and go next door. But if you tell me why something's vitally important, if you know why something's vitally important, you'll walk over cut glass to John O'Groats to get there. Incredibly powerful tool if you are looking to build an organization, build culture. Get in touch with the purpose, your own purpose, the organization's purpose, and find out what drives your own people, the people in your team. It's a huge motivator. Lesson number 2. Is it making sense, by the way? How am I doing on time, by the way? Can't see it. How long? 10 minutes, okay. Whew. Always carry a notebook. Faintest of ink will last longer than the best of memories. This looks quite battered. It's called JJJ. Now, I've been through the alphabet 3 times. I haven't got much creativity around that, really. But in here go my thoughts and my musings. Into these notebooks, everything I've ever created has first gone into one of these. Or I've recently started using exercise books. So everything I've written, I was at a conference in York, probably 1995, and I walked past a group of our Swiss associates. And they said, I'm just walking past, and they were saying, life's all about living, laughing, and learning. And I went, oh, that's interesting. Just jotted it down in my notebook. When I got back to my house and where I have my office, I got a big whiteboard, and I just put those 3 words up there: living, laughing, and learning. And I thought, God, that's really good. I like that. And about a week later, I went, actually, that would be even better if I put the word loving in there. Living, laughing, loving, and learning. And then I thought, well, how many positive words are there? So I got another set of notebooks out, and I started writing all the positive words I could think of. Now, English was never my best subject, funnily enough, so I had to then go to a dictionary, and I started trawling through the dictionary. And at the end of it, I found out there were only 1,705 positive words in the Oxford Concise Dictionary. How many negatives were there? 5,600. There were 3 times as many negative words in the English dictionary as positive words. I thought, oh, that's interesting. So I wrote a book called The A to Z of Positive Thinking, and I put all the words into it and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it all came from the initial idea of making a note and putting it into the notebook. The faintest of ink will last longer than the best of memories. Another reason for writing things down is there's something called Miller's Magic number 7. If I gave you a whole host of information, a welcome mat, a porpoise, a fluffy duck, a gauntlet, a haystack, a clock, a ship, a priory, some cats, a fireman, a judge, a goalpost, a hose, a fixture list, a golf putter, a can of oil, a log, a stopwatch, a bottle, some fireworks. How many of those can you remember? What are any of those things I've just said? Anyone? There's a fire hose, a fixture list. And what it is when I flood your brain with a whole load of information, you'll pick up bits at the beginning, the middle, and the end, but you won't be able to put it all together. But I could teach this room in 3 minutes, the whole 21, by doing what's called chunking. But Miller's Magic number 7 is, I ask you to write now as an exercise to write down how many you can remember. The average would be, you would remember 7 plus or minus 2 discrete pieces of information. Which is why whenever you've got a lot going on, externalize it and write it down. That's why lists are so good. Instead of it rattling around in the brain and getting lost and confused and forgotten, you go on the drive home, oh, gee, I forgot that. Write it down. It's called the first rule of time management. Externalize, write a list. Now, the actual items I just gave you was actually a 3-hour time management seminar. Welcome the audience, explain what the purpose is, what are the challenges they face, provide introductions, times and investment. We've all got the same, haven't we? It's a great equalizer in life. And I could go on for 3 hours about time management right now, based around those 21 discrete items. But it all starts with making the notes first and jotting them down, because the memory does not last. It's fallible. And that's where the seeds of the idea for the A to Z came from. How are we doing on time, Rob? 5 minutes. Okay. Fraser loved this one when he saw the LinkedIn go out. I'd like you all right now to look at the wall at the back. And tell me what you see, what you notice. Say again? You see the wood panels? What else you see? The wood grains, the marks, clock. And what it is physiologically, you're asked to look at something and you immediately start to notice all the discrepancies, the demarcations. Every time I've done this for 25 years. When I ask somebody in a coaching session to look at a wall and tell me what they see, not one of them's told me they see the wall. Not one. The wall that's there, it divides this space from the other, that's there between the floor and the ceiling supporting. Because physiologically, we're designed for discrepancies. It's survival. On the plains of savannah, the quick, the change, the sound, the smell, we're geared to look for discrepancies. We fail to look for what's there. It's the same with negatives in life. Count your blessings. How many of you actually done it? Have you actually sat down and counted your blessings? Tallied your victories? Well, I've done that too. There's my little book called The Victory Book. And funnily enough, there's the very first sheet of paper that I started writing them out on when I worked for Dale Carnegie all those years ago. You ever want to learn to speak in public? Take a Dale Carnegie course. I don't know if they do it anymore, but it's brilliant. Victories, peak experiences, bliss and happiness. The first one, my son being born. Second one, get my degree, blah, blah, blah. So what I've done is I've just listed them. I'm up to about 396 now. But the thing is, that's called count your blessings. If I'm ever feeling morose and down, just go back and look at that, have a quick chuckle. I hide it from my wife because there's things in there that she shouldn't see. So the wall exercise, look at it. And it's moments of peak experience happiness, things that bring you joy, jobs well done. When you're younger in life, it's probably first driving lessons. It's going to be what do they call O levels nowadays? GCSEs? What am I looking at you for? GCSEs? Anyway, O levels and A levels, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, there's rights, the things that we learn that we can count. Count your blessings. I love this one. Invest in yourself. When I came back from the States in 1991, I was sorely disappointed. I just could not believe this country. I thought, my God, the service was absolutely atrocious. You had to bag your own groceries, for goodness sake, you know? But the customer service, the attitude in this country, it just stank. And I was here to flog Dale Carnegie courses, and I realized real quick, people in this country did not invest in themselves. I can count on one hand the number of people that actually dug into their own pocket and paid to do a Dale Carnegie course. I can still name them: Jonathan Butterworth, Nick Rickson, and Peter Baker. They paid for themselves to do the Dale Carnegie. Everybody else expected somebody to give it to them. And I thought, whoa, attitudinally, that's the difference between this country and America. In America, you take responsibility, you invest in yourself. Over here, everybody expects it to be given to them. Terrible, terrible indictment, isn't it? Warren Buffett said the best investment you can make is in yourself. That's the shock to the system of my fiance at the time. She said, what are you going to do, Neil? I said, well, I'm going to go into sales. And she went, oh, no, what do I tell my friends? Selling was a dirty word, still is in some circles. There seems to be a propensity against people making it and going out there and selling themselves, isn't there? My father summed it up. He remembers Don Mintoff. Anybody remember Don Mintoff? Those down that end of the room definitely wouldn't. The ones down this end should. Lindsay shaking his head. Do you remember Don Mintoff? Don Mintoff was the Prime Minister of Malta when they got independence. So you're giving somebody independence. What's that mean? Responsibility. But straight away, Don Mintoff was, give it to me, give it to me. He called it the Maltese breaststroke. And I thought, whoa, that's kind of sums up an attitude. Give it to me. Give it. I'm not going to go. Give it to me. So that's Warren Buffett. And I don't think we're going to have time for that. So, Rob, we'll just wrap it up, yeah? We got time for this? Yeah, okay. I've reached a point about 10 years ago where I went, if we were saying, well, you've got to read this book and you've got to watch this podcast and you've got to do this. I went, no. Enough inputting. When you reach this stage of life, you've had 37 years of input. I thought I could comfortably sit in the room now and with all the ideas and with all my notebooks, I think I've got enough information to process. So the idea here, one of the lessons later, it was just stop inputting and start working with what you've got. Trust the process. I was coaching somebody, she was highly, highly extroverted. And I just said, look, Janet, just lock yourself away in a room, get a chair and sit in silence. She was horrified. I said, just trust the process. You've got to go internal, learn to listen to the still voice within you. But you can only do that if you cut things out and give yourself space and time. The thing is, when she finally got to half an hour sitting on her own, happened. The big breakthrough came through. In the silence, the answer came to her. We don't have to keep on having input. Sometimes we've got to stop and listen, and the answers will come. One of the quotes I came up with was this one, and that's it. I'm done. Thank you very much.